Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session of Talking Tech for Women and Girls in ICT. Talking Tech is a series celebrating girls and women in tech being recorded around the world between Girls in ICT Day 2020 and Girls in ICT Day 2021. Girls in ICT Day is an international day marked on the fourth Thursday of each April. The objectives of Girls in ICT Day are to help to create a global environment that empowers and encourages girls and young women to consider studies and careers in the growing field of information and communication technologies. My name is Kristen Corlay, and today I am delighted to be representing Girl Up for this Talking Tech Talk. Girl Up was founded by the UN Foundation in 2010 as an initiative to help support UN agencies that focus on adolescent girls. Girl Up's leadership development programs have impacted 75,000 girls through 4,000 clubs in nearly 125 countries and all 50 US states. Girl Up is inspiring a generation of girls to be a force for gender equality and social change. The goal of Girl Up's STEM for Social Good programming is to educate and inspire girls everywhere to use STEM skills to promote gender equality and change the world, which perfectly aligns with the mission of Girls in ICT Day. And if you want to learn more information about Girl Up, you can go to girlup.org. This is why I am also really excited to having a discussion about tech and tech careers with Cristina Bueti from ITU. So, the Talking Tech series is brought to you by the ITU, UNICC, and the Office of the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and in support of Equals, the Global Partnership for Gender Equality in the Digital. The goal of the series include inspire girls and younger women with information about a range of ICT careers that can be had. We want to bring a broader audience to the role of model women in tech and share information about their career journeys and work. And we want to offer diverse examples of how ICT is being used to support in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We want to showcase initiatives that are working with girls and support them in their ICT studies or future ICT careers. And finally, provide girls and young women in tech with a leadership opportunity to represent and promote a girls in tech organization in which they are involved with and promote it to a broad international audience. To kick this session off, I'm going to share with you a little bit of how I got involved with Girl Up. I was one of the co-founders of Girl Up Monterrey, the 2018 Girl Up Club of the Year, and I had the incredible opportunity of being part of Team Strong for the 2018 Leadership Summit, interviewing amazing panelists and speakers. During my time in Girl Up, I was not just involved in fundraising and volunteering, but also helped create partnerships with my own high school robotics team and leading STEM workshops for young girls. My favorite part of Girl Up is that you can make it your own to attend your community's needs and goals. Now that I'm a freshman at Johns Hopkins University studying civil and systems engineering, I truly believe that our built environment shapes the way we experience the world and plays a critical role in social justice. And this goes hand in hand with the incredible work done by Cristina Bueti in the International Telecommunications Union, where she advises the ITUT Study Group 20 Internet of Things and Applications, Smart Cities, and ITUT Study Group 5 Environment and Climate Change. So I am now delighted to pass on the conversation to her. And to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about the work you currently do at the ITU and what you enjoy the most about it?
Well, I'm currently the ITU focal point on environment and smart sustainable cities, which includes also leading work of the UN United for Smart Sustainable City initiative from the ITU side. What I like best about my job is really the continual exposure to technological development, having a finger on the pulse of technology, so to speak, and the ability to ensure the optimal trajectory of technology utilization, especially in our cities and communities. It is really rewarding to know that the work that I do at the ITU may contribute to the responsible, environmentally and climate friendly, human centric, sustainable, and overall best practice driven use of technology. And, of course, I'm really passionate. I enjoy the forward looking nature of my work very much, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why I'm so invested in what I do within my job. So I'm very pleased actually to have a conversation with you today. You're really passionate about sustainable cities now. So I want to know how did you get into technologies?
That's a very interesting question because I think some of my first approaches to technology was probably when I was younger. I remember always looking forward to science and math class. I remember when I was like in elementary or middle school, I always loved the science fair and like I always wanted to have like the most creative project and just like spend all my time like dedicating into it. I remember I had like this renewable energy like bicycle that I did, and then like I remember working with like hydraulic power, and I was always interested in those things. But especially in middle school, I was also really interested in the UN and social justice. So I decided to do more work in Model UN, and I kind of like left my passion for science and math and technology on the side because I thought that if I wanted to change the world, I needed to be a politician, I needed to be a diplomat, and all of those things. It wasn't until I got into high school that my brother suggested I joined the high school robotics team because he was part of the robotics team and he really liked it. And that's kind of like my first approach that I got into technology specifically. Um, Kind of like having this passion to do social work and to make a change in my community, and then being introduced to robotics and all of the incredible reach that it has. And so I would say like my bigger like first approach to technology was definitely in high school, my robotics team, and that is thanks to my brother. So I think that's also kind of like a larger statement of why we need to encourage more girls in tech, and like even if they don't like it, just introduce it to them. So I
I
think
think
that's my start.
I think that's brilliant. I believe that was, a fantastic idea and initiative that your brother had. And I wish we had more brothers, more, young adults, men and girls and women that would encourage actually women and girls to join and approach and get familiar with technology. So whether it is a school camp, whether it is a webinar, whether it is even a chat about technology and the power of technology. So that's great.
Nice. I really love telling that story. And I remember you mentioning when we were talking previously to this interview that you did not start getting into technology until later into your career. So would you mind sharing with us your path from then until now?
Yes, I must confess that actually I would say that I got really late into technology. I actually my father bought my first PC when I had to write my thesis. So that was really, I think I was kind of forced to get into technology. And, and since that very moment, I kind of felt in love with technology. And after completing my postgraduate studies in international cooperation and also telecommunication law in and I was so confronted with so many exciting developments in technology. And I'm talking about about 2002, 2003. So really almost 20 years ago, when certainly technology was not what we see now. It was not about really um, the artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, the robotics that is so pervasive. It was really when people, in a way, they would get familiar with having a mobile phone, having PC at home,
Mm.
and I thought that was fantastic because it gave me the opportunity to learn what I could do just with the internet and the online communication that at that time was really taken off. So the possibility in terms of what could be achieved using technology in every sphere seemed endless. And, in a mind of really a young girl, I wanted to be part of that exciting new paradigm. That interest coupled with my educational background, like you, my dream was to work in the UN. So I felt like there must be something, there must be some part in the UN that couples, making a better world with having people connected. And that was really the ITU. So
Yeah.
I did my master thesis on the International Telecommunication Union. And that's when the love started.
Yeah, and look where you are now, which is really cool. And part of kind of like what you mentioned about like how you didn't get introduced much later into that, like I've in my generation, like I've had the privilege of like growing up with technology. So I think it's also really interesting to have this intergenerational talks where we like, have different experiences with technology where I was like born into, this new era and you're kind of like part of the generation that helped pave that. So that's also really, really awesome.
Yeah, and if you think it's like the two of us, we represent a bit two generation. And on my side, for example, I remember after I finished my postgraduate studies, I did an internship at the ITU, and had the opportunity to work on so many interesting and impactful projects that they really provided me with a wonderful learning opportunity. And they also allowed me to really apply to my education and skills in increasingly meaningful and fulfilling ways. So with experience came greater subject matter, domain and institutional expertise, but also it opens up a complete new world, which really led to greater levels of responsibility. And for me, technologies was key. I think that was really something that I completely changed my life. So what's something that you have done in or with tech that you are particularly excited about or proud of?
Wow. Currently, I remember being like my high school robotics team, and I was always involved a little bit more into community organizing and kind of like the social work part of the team, not exactly into mechanics or programming or like the electrical engineering part of stuff. I wasn't sure what I was passionate about, and it wasn't until I got into college that I discovered data science and spatial data science to be specific. I've been greatly inspired by people who are using data and are using mapping to change the world. For example, in Mexico, we have this incredible spatial data scientist. Her name is Maria Salguero, and she made this map of the femicides in Mexico, which is a huge issue that we have with gender violence over here. And what she did is she made this map to kind of like visualize and also count the number of deaths that we've had in Mexico. And with that data, we're able to have evidence about the magnitude of this issue. And so for me, that was really inspirational that you are using data and you're using mapping to change the world. And I was like, I want to do that. And being a student at Johns Hopkins University, especially right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, in the civil and systems engineering department, we have Professor Lauren Gardner, and we have Enxing Dong, who did the COVID-19 dashboard. And that for me is really inspiring to see also how ArcGIS, which is geospatial information systems, are used to document and to also highlight inequalities in the world. And so going back to what I was talking about, my robotics team, how I didn't feel like I was like developing myself in tech. I got into college and I took a class where I learned ArcGIS, and I realized I don't only really like it, I'm also really good at it. And for me, that was so special because I didn't think I would find something in tech that I was good at. Like I knew people who were so good at mechanics and who could ideate robots like out of anything, and I knew people who could program and all of these things, and I was like, what can I do? And that's how I discovered GIS. And I've done a few projects on that. For my class, I was able to map the town where my grandfather is from, which is like a rural settlement in Mexico. And we don't have a lot of documentation for rural settlements in Mexico. So for me to digitalize that and highlight that story was really important for me. And yes, I'm currently doing an internship at a place at JHU called the 21st Century Cities Initiative, and I'm doing some research on the scooter program in Baltimore. So it's just so cool how it's really like technology really is a tool. It's kind of like a superpower, to be able to put numbers and visualize them and to make analysis to like highlight the world. So I'm really excited about spatial data science.
I think you have all the reasons to be excited because that's really a great area where we would see many developments, and I'm sure that you will be part of the change that we need also
Thank
in
you.
making data more available.
Absolutely. And also, I think that was a really great question. So, um, I would also want to know what is one thing or a couple of things that you have done in tech that you're proud of, or maybe reaffirmed why you work in this area.
I cannot say that I've done really one thing alone, but certainly there have been quite a few things over the years that I contributed to, along with many other inspirational women and men. And in particular, as part of my job as counselor, I was given the possibility to help standardize mobile device adapters and charger into universal solution. So something that probably 10 years ago seemed impossible. Every time that we were buying a mobile phone, we had the charger with it, and then you get an adapter, a different charger, and then but now you can have only one that fits all. And that positive impact of that ITU standard really helped to develop to achieve an enormous and long-lasting results in terms of reducing e-waste. So the universal charging solution, such as the universal power adapter, really changed completely. Um, I would say not only the market, but I think people expectation, because now we kind of think, oh, but I can immediately use another power adapter and get my phone charged. But a few years ago that seemed impossible, and just with one standard, we achieved so many things. The possibility of avoiding device duplication, reduction on demand of raw materials, reduction of e-waste. And this is really significant, as e-waste has become a major environmental issue globally. I'm an environment passionate, so I always link what I do with uh, at least a contribution to protect our planet. And in 2019 alone, the world generated over 53 million tons of e-waste. So if measures are not taken to curtail e-waste, that the global total may increase to nearly 75 million tons by 2030, which will be almost double the annual amount of new e-waste that we're seeing right now. So that development of those IT standards was very timely. And as of 2017, only 66% of the global population had a mobile phone. So since then, we have seen a definite increase in mobile devices, a trend that we know that is expected to continue. So being able to cap the number of chargers from growing exponentially in terms of e-waste, and also in terms especially of raw material depletion, has been really worthwhile and very gratifying for me. As I said, certainly this is not a result that I achieved on my own. On the contrary, there are many people to thank, and many people to that contributed to the drafting, the development, the implementation of the standard. But without any doubt, I can say that that was really at least one example that I'm really proud of, that completely changed the way even I was thinking that I was working at ITU.
Yes, that's honestly really, really interesting. It's something I think e-waste is something that we don't think about a lot. Usually, we believe that the cycle of a product ends when the consumer has it in their hands, and it's honestly an entire process that is not environmentally sustainable, even from extracting the raw materials to how we discard it. So thank you for bringing a highlight to that issue.
As a young woman in technology, what are some of the challenges that you have faced or are you facing now?
I've had it's a really big privilege to have had people who have supported me. Like my brother has supported me, my parents have supported me, my friends support my decision to study engineering and to be here. I know a lot of people have not had that support, that their parents have not let them go into this field or have not let them study in general. So that comes from a very privileged standpoint, from my end. I think oftentimes some of my greatest challenges come from myself, especially because I think we have the stereotype that for technology or for science or for math, like you need to have this innate passion for it, and it's something you either have or you don't, and not something you can develop. And I don't think that's true. I think technology is something that you grow with and you find your path within it. It's not something that you're not gonna like be born and be like, I want to work with programming, and I want to work with solar panels, and I want to work with e-waste. Like it's something that you develop, and sometimes I still think like, oh, maybe technology is not for me, like because I don't say I am passionate about coding specifically, and I'm not very knowledgeable, but I'm passionate about learning to code. I'm passionate about what I want to do with code specifically, and that doesn't make me any less valuable than someone who has been coding since they were like 10 and know like so many languages. Especially for young girls, I think, you know, because less girls are exposed to technology later on, there's this knowledge gap once you get further into your career or you get older, that you realize like, wow, I wish I would have been in robotics when I was younger and I didn't start into high school. I wish I knew how to code from middle school. Like, look how far behind I am. And I think it's very easy to fall into that trap, and especially as a young woman in tech. So I think that's like probably one of my main challenges. And just, we've all heard of like imposter syndrome. And I definitely see like the added pressure to know that, for example, I'm like right now the only girl in my major in the class of 2024. And there's like this extra like stress or like anxiety that I have that I think some of my peers don't have, where it's like, I want to be perfect because I don't want them to think that if I fail, it's because I'm a girl or something, or just like those microaggressions that sometimes happen. Not within the guys in my major, but just in general. People, being like, "Oh, you're a civil engineer, like, and do you actually like it, or do you just want to do it because you want to be like trendy and like woman in STEM and all of those?" And I'm like, I really like it. I'm really passionate about it. And so it's kind of like those microaggressions. I'm really thankful to not have, you know, experience bigger things right now. Maybe in my career, I will experience more things, but as of now, I still feel very supportive, but there are still, insecurities that linger around. And going off from that, I think I want to ask you, would you mind sharing a lesson or a piece of advice that you wish you knew when you were my age or even younger?
Well, I think a key lesson that I've learned in my career is to do what you enjoy to do. You need to do what you like to do. That's key. And that will, allow you to achieve the greatest professional results and outcomes. Really, no one can stop you because that will be the best source of motivation that you could ask for. Another lesson that I've learned is also the power of research. And this is really an endless number of career options within the overall field of technology alone. It's really a sea of opportunities. The more one can research various roles and professional responsibilities and possibilities, and exactly it takes to avail or achieve them. And the easier it can be to chart a career development trajectory. In a certain way, that's what I did. when I finished my postgraduate studies in international cooperation, I didn't enjoy actually the study that you are doing, for example, on engineering. But my passion brought me to do research and to study, and then to decide to do a thesis on the International Telecommunication Union, which is really the United Nations oldest specialized agency responsible for information and communication technologies. So that was like um, combining what it was like my studies, so finishing my studies, writing my thesis, but also opening up new opportunities and doing a thesis on IT, which for me at that time was really a challenge because I was really studying something that was completely different from what I had studied before, and it was also a beautiful challenge. So that being said, I've also learned that flexibility is always a good trait to have as well. It is worthwhile at times to branch out and avail opportunities that may come up outside of one core career's path. So the interdisciplinary learning that such opportunities can provide could be invaluable in broadening actually one's professional as well as personal horizons. In that case, for example, I accepted, an internship at the ITU, which at that time, when I received the letter from the human resources, I didn't know whether I was supposed to cry or smile because I was so terrified of not being, sufficiently competent for that post. But that's where flexibility and adaptation and resilience those are the three, I think, ingredients that I believe are important, especially for women in technology and for girls that they want actually to approach to life and to career in general. And based on that, if I may ask you, what are your next steps in technology besides, of course, finishing your current studies? So let us talk about dreams and aspirations.
I think that's really cool. In the short term, I would say I definitely want to go to graduate school. I think there's something really amazing about continuing to do your studies if you have the opportunity to do so. So I'm definitely, working hard in my current studies, hopefully to get a scholarship in grad school and also enjoying my undergraduate years as much as I can. Enjoying college. I think that's also really cool. I want to, one of my biggest dreams, like, to be able to look back and say, like, I really enjoyed learning, I really enjoyed my friends, and I really enjoyed my college years. And on a larger scheme of things, as I mentioned, I want to study either something further into urban planning, urban policy, or even data science, as I was mentioning. I really want to be able to combine my passion for sustainable cities and for data. I'm currently working on a project for data transparency within Mexico, which I'm incredibly excited about. I'm working with that with one of my friends. And we really think data transparency in Mexico is something that's crucial for the government. And we think it's something, that focuses on what you were saying. It's interdisciplinary, because you're talking about the law, but you're also talking about technology and you're also talking about politics, but also data. And I think that's really great. And yes, I want to be able to go back and to think that I've done the best with my skills, with my opportunities, and with what I want to do and like to help change the world. So I would say it was probably some like my biggest dreams. Of course, I want to work with the UN at some point in my life, and honestly, being open to see where that takes me. Because if you would have asked me that like a few, years ago, I would have said something different. But I know that I want to change the world no matter what avenue I take. The process will change, but I think the overall goal of, making this a better place than it was and than it is, and helping people, I think that will stay the same. And I wanted to hear from you since you have been involved with sustainable cities and this issue a little longer than I am. Why does sustainability, not only cities, but maybe in general, matter? And what would you say is the role of the ITU in creating equity within them?
ITU has helped to define actually a concept of smart, sustainable cities.
Mhm.
Indeed, we always insist on the fact that cities have to be smart and sustainable. So these two concepts they have to be linked together. And by definition, the cities tend to be innovative, technologically smart in how they approach matters of sustainability, because sustainability itself is a forward thinking and overarching concept. It really encompasses the meeting the needs of both present and future generations in terms of economic, environment, social and cultural aspects. Sustainability is, that overarching framework that city needs. And we also believe that, a smart sustainable cities has to be human centric because it has to be based on inclusivity, on equity, on representation, on participation. And for that to happen, the city has to be prepared, has to be responsive, has to be resilient. And now more than ever, I think that we have learned the power of cities in being resilient, especially with the pandemic. And especially because the first interface for citizens is the city, the mayor, and that there's the government, and then there is the overall international framework. So I would say that smart sustainable cities matter because they are the cities of today and they are the city of tomorrow. And ITU engages actively on multiple fronts to encourage cities all over the world really to ensure that when they embrace their smart sustainable city journey, they are prepared. The ITO's efforts are focused to ensure also that all citizens benefit from positive outcomes that generate really also more gender balance, more participation, from creating innovation, from using international standards for technology deployment and development. And that is key when we think that if cities have to empower citizens, they have to have the necessary tools. And that's when technology and digital solutions come in. So I would say that the ITU has really a great role to play in this area, and certainly identifying the challenges and find the concrete solutions actually by helping cities to become better prepared and more resilient, especially in a post-pandemic world. It's imperative, and I'm very glad that I can contribute to these efforts. So following up a bit what we are discussing during this chat, what excites you about being a civil and system engineer that is also passionate about sustainability and social justice?
I think what goes hand in hand with that is kind of like what we were talking about before about dreams. I think my main goal as a female civil and systems engineer is to create cities where every single girl is safe, where she's free, and where she's able to live a life without violence and she's able to pursue her dreams just like I am currently working towards pursuing mine. And I think the moment we realize that the built environment and how we design cities have the power to either make the world more equal or to make a larger gap within people, I think it's the moment where we realize like that change really is intersectional and it is also interdisciplinary. I understand that, like cities have already been built. honestly. Like there's already infrastructure that is I didn't know this until I came to college, but truly like infrastructure itself can be ableist and it can be racist and it can be sexist. And we didn't think about it before. And now when we have these issues, we need to fix our built environment and we need to fix all of these things to make it more equitable. And so to be part of that change and to revolutionizing really something that's already been built and rebuilding or tearing down, I think is really exciting for me. And, I'm really excited to work with diverse people to make this change and to not make the same mistakes of the past. So I think that's what keeps me going the most in this career. And I think we're going towards the end of our talk. And so to finish, would you like to share a message to anyone watching this interview? Maybe a couple of words that, could inspire someone watching.
Well, first of all, I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to sit down with you today and have this conversation. I'm a passionate advocate for more girls and women to join the tech field. So I hope that sharing my experience of a non-tech girl that became a passionate of technology can be useful in helping others decide on careers in technology, and especially in understanding that technology careers can take many forms. So from the technical development variety to others that are more focused on making both mainstream and emerging technologies more universal, accessible, standard, and easy to understand. So there is really a whole spectrum of technology careers out there waiting for capable candidates who will seize and capitalize on opportunities. So for me, that's really a call to action to all girls that are really listening to this interview. Never give up. Never allow anyone to let you down. And technology is something that is there. It's for you, and not because you are a girl. Technology is for men. So don't fall into this trap. Don't fall into this stereotype where technology is mostly associated with men, because it's not. And it's really, I think, great opportunity for many girls not only to enjoy technologies but to lead the change through technology. So thank you for having me here today, and I really have enjoyed our conversation very much.
Great. Likewise here, it's been great talking to you. And going off from what you were saying, I think that's a really important message to emphasize that you define your own path in technology, and technology looks different for everyone. I think we usually imagine computers or maybe robotics or all of those things, but technology at the end of the day is innovating and changing things to make them more efficient or to make it better. And that doesn't necessarily mean adding more hardware or adding more computers or adding more AI. It can also mean, just stepping back and thinking about how we're doing things. So everyone's path will look different and everyone's technology will look different. And I think that's part of what makes it so exciting. So definitely keep that in mind if you're watching this. And that wraps up our session today for Talking Tech, Women and Girls in ICT. Thank you so much, Christina. I really enjoyed our chat today. And thank you so much to anyone who has watched this interview. It means a lot to us, and I hope it also means a lot to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.